Right, so your next one is resistance training. So I would have two definitions at the top of this part, where you have resistance machines and you talk about a pulley and weight system, and you have free weight, which is any object that can be lifted safely. So find the definition of both of them, put both of them at the top of your resistance training section. Then underneath that bit, all of this stuff applies to both of these. So for both of these, they target individual muscles. Okay, so you can make resistance training appropriate to the sport that you're doing. So it could be a marathon runner that's wanting to do squats, or it could be a tennis player that's wanting to work on power in their arms, and they can both use resistance training like that. And another advantage of resistance training is actually the overload aspect of it is quite easy, because essentially you just need to lift a bit more, or you need to do more weight, so you need to do more reps of what you're doing. Linking into components of fitness, as we're doing with all of these topics. So if you do high weight and low reps, so if you go for a really heavy weight that you can't do many reps of, and you do say 3 or 4, that will build your strength and power, and that's more of a maximal activity. Maximal and submaximal we'll probably do another video on, and I will speak to you about in lessons as well. If you do a lower weight and do high reps, so I don't know, you're going for 20 reps of a bench press or 20 squats holding a particular weight, then that's going to build your muscular endurance. So mentioning these things here as different components of fitness which you can target with resistance training. An important part of this is safety. Now with kids, generally kids don't go to the gym, but they say that you can lift up to your own body weight. So obviously it kind of, I think it says in the book, it talks about bones, your development, your growth, it can impact that. You'll generally want a spotter when you're doing this, particularly if you're doing maximal training. You're going to need a spotter for that really heavy weight, just in case you can't lift it. If it was a bench press, for example, getting that correct technique and not just kind of forcing things through, that's how you can get issues. I had shoulder surgery, but arguably could have been linked to that as well. Making sure that you warm up and you're resting significantly between sets. Now another aspect of this part is circuit training. So once you've done this part, new subtitle, circuit training. Okay, circuit. So advantages of circuit training. So you can do all components of fitness here, because you can put whatever you want into a circuit. It's flexible to the aims of the athlete, so depending on what stage of fitness that athlete's in, what part of their season that they're in, whether they want to be doing high intensity or low intensity, you can change it, and you can target different muscles. We spoke about this before, about how you might do press-ups as one station in the circuit, and then on the next station do squats. While even though you're working the whole time, you're hitting different muscles there. This links beautifully to the principles of training that we did in Allo 1. Just to go back to our book that we're using quite regularly, particularly if you want to be hitting them 7, 8 and 9 answers, things that might not be involved in these videos. So it's talking about specificity. Circuits would focus on specific muscles used and aspects of fitness required in that sport that is significant to the athlete. Progressive overload. When the circuit is repeated, it should gradually be made harder. Reversibility. The circuit should be repeated regularly to prevent loss of fitness. Moderation. So if you're doing an older athlete who's 60 plus, or if you're doing someone coming back from injury, then maybe you could have more rest stations in there. Or maybe you need to, if they're coming back from a particular injury, you need to keep on building in some ankle support, wobble boards within the circuit to support that athlete on whatever specific to them. Tedium, so that's talking about adherence, so making sure that the circuits are varied to prevent boredom. Frequency may well be completed 3 times a week. Intensity, we've just spoken about that there, varying that according to the athlete. And like I say, I would apply the principles of training to circuit training, because it does that really nicely.